Hey everybody, this is Cliff with Hambleton Transportation. I'm going to do this video. It's going to be a little different than our normal videos. No trucking today. I decided to give you guys a look inside kind of the financial part of running a trucking company. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to break down the expenses of running a truck and trailer on your own. And then we'll take a look at how much money we made, our gross income for the quarter, January 1st through March 31st. How much we spent, how much we made, and you guys will get to see what I actually made running a truck and trailer. I do want to say that I'm not doing this video to compare myself, making more or less than anybody else. I just wanted to do it in case there was anybody out there that was interested in starting a trucking company, and you can kind of see what you spend money on and how much you can possibly make. Hopefully it can be educational to anybody out there that wants to become an independent trucker. One caveat for this quarter is we just bought a new trailer and started a new lease on a brand new truck in November. And it was a big jump for us. When I say us, I mean my wife and I, we own the company. But it was a big jump to, go to all new equipment, and the expense is significantly more than we had before. So I knew that when we bought that and getting through the winter was going to be a struggle, and probably the first quarter was not going to be as good as we would like it to be, and that did prove true. So you guys will see that as the video goes on. So let's get into it, and we'll start with the expenses and we'll see where we spent our money this quarter. So when I figure out my expenses and my income, I like to figure out how much it cost me per mile and how much we made per mile. That way, when we're calling to bid on a load, we know exactly how much we need to be profitable. So in the first quarter of 2025, I drove 19,337.8 miles. So for our expenses, first on the list is fuel. We spent $12,826.17. That comes out to about 66 cents a mile. We have medical insurance. So that's for me and my family. We spent $939. It's 5 cents a mile. Truck insurance, that includes liability, cargo insurance, all of that. Total of $3,674.46 for about 19 cents a mile. Business insurance, this is an additional policy that we have because we have an SBA loan and they require it. So that we spent $191.49 for 1 cent a mile. Our truck lease payments. So we lease our truck with PACCAR. It is a full service lease. So they take care of all the maintenance, tires, all of that, and we just have one payment a month. So for that lease payment, we spent $11,512.92, which is 60 cents a mile. Repairs and maintenance. We don't have much of that because we just bought the trailer in November, and the truck, we have no repair or maintenance costs on that. So we only spent $195.19 for about 1 cent a mile. That repair and maintenance also includes like truck washes and that kind of stuff. For the load board that we subscribe to, which is Internet Truck Stop, we spent $133.56. It's about 1 cent a mile. We have to rent a parking spot because I don't have room at my house to park my truck and trailer. So the cost of that was $630, or 3 cents a mile. Our cell phones, which we use for our business, we spent $708.38, or 4 cents a mile. Also included in that is a tablet that I use in the truck. Equipment purchases. This can be anything from gloves to chains, binders, anything I use for work. So that we spent $1,152.77, about 6 cents a mile. Permits. So hauling heavy and oversized, you spend a lot of money on permits. So we spent $5,707.20 on permits, which is about 30 cents a mile. Tolls, one good thing about running heavy and oversized loads is you kind of avoid the toll roads. So that totaled out to $628.66, or about 3 cents a mile. Miscellaneous, this is just anything that doesn't really fit into any other category. So like cat scales, or just any of the little expenses, IFTA stickers, that kind of thing. So that was a total of $638.05, and that's 3 cents a mile. Hotels. So I stay in hotels rather than sleeping in the truck. I did that because I don't particularly enjoy sleeping in a truck. So the new truck that we got, it just has a little sleeper on it. It's a 40-inch flat top sleeper. I use it pretty much like an extended cab pickup. I just keep all my stuff back there. But at night, I do get hotels when I stay out. So the total for that was $1,874.98, or 10 cents a mile. Meals on the road. I usually pack all of my food. I have a little 12-volt fridge in the truck. So I don't spend a whole lot on meals. So that only came up to $168.72, or 1 cent a mile. And then office supplies, which we have a subscription for printer ink, printer paper, any subscriptions you have for online stuff. So that totaled up to $65.10. And then the last two, we have our trailer. So I keep track of all my expenses because you have to for tax purposes, but it also gives you a good idea of what you spend to run the truck. So the last two here are not taxable, or are not a write-off for tax purposes, but they do still impact how much you spend. So we have our trailer payment, which is a SBA loan. We spent $3,751.90, which is 19 cents per mile. And we have an idle loan from COVID when they shut us down and we weren't able to run. That totals out to $858, or 4 cents a mile. So in total, our total expenses came out to $45,656.55, or $2.36 a mile. Now, on the income side of things, this is how much we get paid to haul all of our loads. So we negotiate a rate with the broker or the shipper that we're doing business with. And then when we get paid for that, this is that number. So our total income for the first quarter was $59,174.96. So with the income and the expenses, so if you take that $59,174.96, and then you subtract our expenses from it, which was $45,656.55, you get a quarterly net income of $13,518.41, or about 70 cents a mile of net income. Okay, so before I wrap this video up, a couple things I want to talk about. I know you guys will see that big lease payment and think, man, you could save a lot of money by buying an older truck and maintaining it yourself, and, it'd be a lot cheaper to do it that way. And to that, I will say that in my experience, and this may not be the same for everybody else, if you have a shop and you have a ton of experience as a diesel mechanic, you can probably make it work where it's more cost effective to have an older truck. For me, in my company, I owned 2 used trucks previous to starting to lease trucks. And what I have found is the biggest expense in trucking is not it's not even the cost of repairs. It's the downtime when your truck is in the shop. I had several instances where I had one where a fuel tank was leaking and I had to take it in and I had to get that fixed. And it took weeks to get it fixed, and you're just down and not making any money. And then I had an ECU or an ECM go bad on an engine, and again it was weeks until the shop could get it in and get it replaced. Didn't take long to fix, and it wasn't even that expensive, but we lost 3 weeks of income because of that. So when those things happened, I really started looking at leasing a truck. And with this lease, we really don't have any downtime. When the truck needs an oil change, we take it in and we get preferential treatment to get it in and get the oil changed. If it needs something fixed, the last lease we had to get an exhaust manifold replaced, and it was done over a weekend, and we had the truck back and we're running again. So that's why we do the lease. I know it looks like a huge payment, but I do find that the lease payments are more cost effective than actually having a truck that you have to worry about maintaining and repairing. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about is hotels. I know that I'm going to get a lot of comments with guys saying it's stupid to spend money on hotels when you can have a truck with a sleeper on it. All of my trucks had bigger sleepers until this one in November. So for almost 10 years, I was going out and parking at rest areas or parking in truck stops and sleeping in the truck. It wasn't until the last couple years where I started getting a hotel every once in a while, and now I get a hotel every night that I stay out. And the reason I do that is for my well-being. I find that mentally and physically, I stay in better shape. I don't get sick as often. I'm happier on the road when I get a hotel. So again, that may not be for everybody, but for my personal well-being and to not be exhausted all the time, I made the choice that I was just going to get a hotel if I was staying out, and I have not regretted it. That 10 cents per mile is more than worth having, a room to get up and walk around in, a shower every night. It's just worth it to me to get a hotel rather than sleeping in the truck. Again, not for everybody, but not everybody has to run their business the same way. If you want to buy a 20-year-old truck and work on it yourself and take it out and sleep in it every night and stay out for weeks at a time, and that's what you want to do, that's awesome. Go for it, But for me, I would rather have somebody else work on the truck. I'll drive it, and I'd rather stay in a hotel than sleep in the truck. All right, now to wrap this video up. So in the RGN world, lowboy hauling equipment, wintertime is always the worst. And the first quarter, the first couple months, it's still cold, it's still icy, and there's no construction going on. So there's very little equipment moving. So it's always the worst quarter for equipment. The past couple years, from what I have seen, so we bought our first RGN not last July, but the July before that. So we've been doing it for, it'll be 3 years this July that we've been running RGN. When we first started, rates were pretty good, and then they kind of fell off. And then for the past couple years, rates have just not been good in any sector of trucking, really. So, but they are starting to come back this spring. The last couple weeks, we've made pretty good money. A lot better than we had the first couple months of this year. So this quarter was not good. $13,000 times 4, you can do the math on that and figure out that that's not a great paycheck for all the work that you have to put in. But like I said, the last couple weeks we have been making more money, and I think, as things ramp up and equipment starts moving, we're going to do all right. So I do look forward to making more money as the year progresses. That being said, We took a big risk in starting our company. It's a tough business to be in, trucking. We also took a big risk when we bought this new equipment. It's big payments, and if you don't work, you don't make any money. So we knew it would be a big risk. My wife Jen and I knew it would be a big risk to do that. But I have never been one to be averse to risk. I've always been willing to go for it, and we both have the attitude that if it doesn't work and we go broke and they take our house or whatever, that's fine. We'll just start over and we'll do something else, or I'll go drive for somebody else. So we're not real attached to stuff, and you can always make more money. So we like the adventure of it and the risk, we like to go for it. So with all that being said, I hope you guys stay tuned. I'm going to try to do one of these videos every quarter throughout the year, and then we'll do a big wrap up at the end of the year, and we'll see how we do. So I hope you guys come along on this adventure with us as we, this is our first year doing heavy haul. So I hope you come along and you see how we do. Hopefully we make a good amount of money, and you guys can follow along, and hopefully it's an inspiration to other people to go out there and take a risk and start a business. So stay tuned, and I will see you in the next video.